production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com. And by the Ohio Arts Council, a state agency that funds and supports quality arts experiences.
This time on Broad and High. See how 48 Ohio artists take on the challenge of using ostrich eggs as their canvases.
So I'm going to take this beautiful surface that's already here and attach some creatures onto it.
I'm so used to drawing power lines and stuff on a straight surface. I'm really interested in how I'm going to follow the contour of the egg.
This and more right now on Broad and High. Welcome to Broad and High. I'm your host, Kate Manneke. Earlier this year, we brought you a segment about the 48 decorated ostrich eggs on display in Portsmouth. Well, the eggs have traveled here, and you can now see them at the Columbus Museum of Art. So we wanted to share this story again as a little motivation to experience the exhibit up close and personal. And stay tuned, because we're filling this show with artists who use all kinds of canvases. But first, let's take a crack at those eggs.
When I was a young attorney, I lived in Sutton Place on the east side of Manhattan. And every night I would take my dog, a Westie named Bucky, down East 58th Street for a walk. And on the way back, we'd pass a basement apartment that had a large picture window at street level. And at night, when the lights were on, we could see inside. And sitting on top of a big coffee table in front of the sofa was a large bowl piled high with ostrich eggs. And I used to stop and look at the ostrich eggs and think about how incredibly beautiful and simple it was. And every once in a while I would think about them. And I said, wouldn't it be wonderful if I took these eggs and had some of my artist friends make a painting on the egg, taking the same object and seeing how they can each transform it differently.
So this is the egg that Charles gave me. It's a hollow ostrich egg, and holding it and feeling it in my hands, it has a really beautiful texture to it, and it also has a significant amount of weight to it considering that it's an egg or an empty egg shell. It actually feels to me almost like ceramic, so I just intuitively want to put my ceramics on this. So I'm going to take this beautiful surface that's already here and attach some creatures onto it. I like the idea of the mystery of what's inside the egg, of what's contained within, knowing that there's a fetus of some sort in here, a baby waiting to be birthed in here. So I want to put these fetuses, these intertwined creatures, all on the surface so that we get a peek at what's maybe on the inside of the egg.
The title of the show is Art 360, Contemporary Art Hatching Across Ohio. And then serendipitously one day I met Charlotte Gordon from the Southern Ohio Museum.
And I immediately thought this would segue so well into Clarence Carter. Clarence Holbrook Carter was a painter who was born and raised here in Portsmouth. And Clarence Carter imagined our souls embodying this egg shape, this ovoid. And then being able to travel and transcend realms and travel around. And he was very articulate in his paintings in what he pictured happening to the human soul. Chuck had this passion for these ostrich eggs. It echoed the spirit of Carter and his passion for this ovoid shape.
They're just unbelievable displays of artistic imagination.
A lot of them are pictures that unfold all the way around the piece.
For me, ultimately, I was like, how am I going to approach this surface? It's so different for me. You know, obviously, I've never done a watercolor on a three-dimensional surface. There's no chance that this surface reacts the same way that like my paper does. And that's all I've painted on for the last 5 years is basically paper. And it absorbs a certain way and it dries a certain way. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how the layering works on, you know, like a gessoed ostrich egg. So that was kind of the fun part, was thinking like, how am I gonna make my work translate onto an egg? What scene am I gonna do? You know, typically I do a lot of like street scenes, urban scapes, and you know, cafe interiors and stuff like that. But how am I gonna like make that wrap? I like the concept of it being kind of wrapping all the way around. I didn't just want to make it like a curved scene and then just leave the back blank. I kind of wanted I wanted to use the whole surface. I'm so used to drawing power lines and stuff on a straight surface. I'm really interested in how I'm gonna follow the contour of the egg, and it's just a really cool project to kind of take on. I'm really curious how other people did it too. I really want to know how everyone was painting these things. I'm sure they had brilliant ways of doing it, and I've got mine stuck on a paintbrush.
To me, who the audience for this show is going to be children. Here, every kid can relate to creating in their kitchen with mom and dad homemade Easter eggs and those brilliant colors and the fun of that experience. And now when the children come to see Art 360, they're not going to appreciate that they're seeing fine artwork. They're going to see wonderfully creative Easter eggs, and some of those children may one day be inspired to become artists themselves. And if that happens, I'll be very happy.
Art 360 Degrees is on view at the Columbus Museum of Art through August 14th, and you can learn more about the project and all the artists involved online at arthatchingacrossohio.com. Here's a fun fact. The first known globe that included a depiction of the New World dates back to the early 1500s. And get this, it was etched on an ostrich egg. It was actually constructed using the lower halves of 2 ostrich eggs, making it nearly spherical and about the size of a grapefruit. Cincinnati artist Terry Kern might have been interested in this factoid. As a child, she was fascinated by archaeology, but decided to pursue a career that helped define her own personal history.
Well, as a child, it's kind of funny, I wanted to be Indiana Jones. Totally not an artist. And so from a very early age, I became fascinated with the idea of objects that held their own histories and told their own stories. 40 years later, and now I'm an artist, and I create my own objects that hold my history and tell my stories. As I got through school and realized that the anthropology, the earth science, the sociology classes that were necessary to become an archaeologist, I was like, not so much. So I thought, if I can't be the person that digs up the art, maybe I can be the person that makes the art. And that's when I really decided that I was going to become an artist. Clay was created through the process of erosion, the breaking down of the Earth's crust. And I just think the history, you know, some of the things that we know about ancient civilizations, we know because we found their pots. We found a fingerprint. And the fact that thousands of years later, I am doing the same basic thing that some prehistoric person did by creating some kind of container to hold something that's sacred to me. Maybe for some people it's that cup of morning coffee. Maybe for the ancient people it was grain. That link through time and history that ceramics holds, for me, that is just, I mean, I actually have goosebumps just talking about it because it's awesome. So I'll start with the ceramic vessel that I've made, and I'll paint it with underglaze. Every layer that's painted on the surface is translucent like watercolor, so it's kind of a see-through color. So to build up the solid quality of color on all of my pieces, in the background alone there can be 9 layers of color painted on the surface. So what I do is this multi-layering process of color. Because I do that, I usually will work on 5 or 6 pieces at one time, so while the underglaze is drying on one piece, I move to the next. Once I get the background painted on, I let it dry, and then I have a bunch of designs, different drawings of birds and ladders and trees and things like that, and I work out a lot of my design work on tissue paper. Once all the color's on, I have a fine line detail brush and I use black underglaze, and I outline everything and put in all the little lines. And for me, that's when the magic happens. Because as I'm painting the contours and putting in the little lines, I'm thinking about what is this piece about? What am I trying to express? Is it something funny or something sad or something emotional? And somehow that magic of mind, heart, and body goes into the piece at that time so that when you as the viewer look at it, you feel something. My work is very narrative, it's very symbolic. I'm very inspired by nature, so nature is something that's always going to be showing up in my work. Another thing is birds. When I think of birds, I started to think about the women in my family and think of how powerful they were. I'm afraid of heights, so whenever I am feeling anxiety or I'm concerned about something, I start to paint ladders in my work representing that height. It also represents the idea of conquering your fears, because once you start on that journey, whatever it is, you get a little higher. Oh, this feels bad. And then you get used to it. Well, okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Okay, then you go up another rung and it's like, oh my God. And then you get used to it. Books represent the idea of history, my history, the history that I haven't yet written for myself. I got married when I was 36 and my husband was 40. He's got a book of his history and I have a book of my history. But when we get married, we start writing a new book together. So it's our job as partners to read each other's pages. Trees representing compromise, because they can move and bend with the wind and the forces of nature, but they don't usually break. Leaves represent the idea of change. I love the idea of leaves falling down and kind of decaying and providing nourishment for the roots. Whenever I need to remind myself to be fierce, I paint dragons. So what you see through my work is that whatever I'm experiencing, I find a way to put it in my work using this narrative symbolism. And I think that somehow the ideas I had in my head kind of filtered down through my heart and came out through my hands. So when I created something, people would look at it, not only would they like the way it looked, but they would feel something when they looked at it. And that's something that is mysterious to me still to this day.
Columbus artist Mark Linsowitz doesn't normally draw on ostrich eggs. In this segment, he puts his pen to paper to bring you his beautifully rendered illustrations.
It's hard to describe myself as an artist. I don't know, I guess quiet, calm, and trying to give people something that they can enjoy. What I've been trying to do is tell little mini stories through all my drawings. They're kind of open-ended. It's almost like maybe short fiction or something, like in a snapshot, you know. And hopefully, if people pause, they don't just simply see a barn or a tree or a landscape. Or through the mark making and through the shadowing and through the way I'm handling the light and the composition, that people don't see them as a direct drawing of nature. I'm not a plein air artist. I don't sit outside and draw from nature. I like to be in nature, you know, whether it's hiking or living around trees or whatever, and then I'll just go ahead and make up my own version of that. So sometimes they can look a little bit surreal, or something's not quite right, and I feel like that all adds to some of the character in the drawings. So I use mostly a Micron pen, which is it's an archival quality ink pen. I also use just jarred ink, classic ink that I'll use maybe like a Sumi brush or any other type of watercolor brush, and I'll do simple washes. And then recently I started getting into some charcoal drawings, and most of the charcoal will be just rubs in the background, and then I'll draw on top of that. One of the things I really like about the tools that I use is the physical feel of the pen to paper and how the tip hits the paper and just the relationship of that. You can feel that through your hand as you do enough of these drawings and you make enough marks, literally these mark making techniques. And you start to feel the differences in the paper, the differences in how new the pen is, how fresh the ink is. You pick up on all these things, and all of that gets carried into the drawing. But I don't see almost ever how a drawing is going to resolve when I start it. I have sort of a general rough idea that I think I want to do this or I think I want to do that, and then it kind of takes on its own life, and then I go where it seems to want to go. For the last show at the Kenny Gallery, I decided to focus on mostly small work, and part of that was to try to bring the viewer in, to make them have to go up close to the drawing and to really experience it up close. It's not about working small or large is better or whatever, but it felt like, let's try this idea of all the pieces having to pull you in. Love the Kennys in the sense that they know their artwork. I'm blown away every time I go in there and talk to Tim or Jim. They have a depth of knowledge of the history of arts and their specialty in their area that I am very inspired by, and I'm constantly trying to get a little bit more time with those guys to learn from them and grow from working with them. My hope is that when people see the drawings that they might stop by the piece and just pause for a minute, and even if it just gives them a moment of either reflection or calm or peace, or just makes them feel good inside. They don't even have to think anything. Then I feel like I've contributed in a positive way somehow.
The city's boutique art hotel in the Short North Arts District features an impressive array of contemporary artwork from the Pizzuti collection. Plus, the Joseph also showcases the work of several Ohio artists, including limited edition prints by Sarah Fairchild. Her work explores feminine themes of beauty and sensuality and sustainable food sources. Here's more.
The hotel is a boutique hotel with an art focus in the Short North in Columbus, and it's a very personal project. The Joseph, so the Joseph is Ron Pizzuti's father's name. So right there, it's a very personal story, and they take it all with their own taste and their own interests, and this is a project of the heart. So both Ron and Joel have really thrown themselves into every detail, which is really where the art came in, because Ron has been a collector for 40 years and Joel is a budding collector. And so art was part of the discussion, meeting with the designers and the architects from the beginning. When you walk into the lobby, you have this beautiful lobby, and there's a 30-foot wall that opens up into the second floor atrium. So the first breath you have in the hotel is the wow of that big art wall.
I got this side. I got it. Yeah.
Ron really selected work by Cause. He commissioned Cause, who is like an amazing, perfect artist for this project because he has such a crossover. He's both an exhibiting artist, shows with galleries around the world, but has this cult following from his graffiti writer status to making toys and selling them in Japan. The Ohio Portfolio Program was born out of an idea inspired by Ron Pizzuti. We invited artists to submit proposals to make limited edition screen prints or other edition prints and photographs for the rooms.
Rebecca, the curator of Ron's collection, asked me if I wanted to submit a proposal. And so I said, sure, sounds great.
After they narrowed down the 20 or so artists, they invited us to all get together at Ron Pizzuti's house.
And that apartment has one of the most beautiful art installations in the world, I think.
We were then asked, as this group of 20, to create a proposal for the hotel, and it was totally open. You could come up with absolutely anything.
We worked with Glenn Baldridge, Fourth Estate, and Axel Studios in Brooklyn, and we sent the artists to Brooklyn to work with these master printmakers.
I am primarily a painter, so what I did was I created 2 drawings that I would have eventually painted, but instead I thought about it as a little more graphic and a little more simple. And then I thought I would like to create a raised surface on this one. Would it be possible to emboss this one? You know, as artists, we sit in our studio and we do the same thing over and over again because it's comfortable or it's what we know. So it's interesting to kind of like, how might this work?
And so they had this great collaborative spirit working with high-end master printers, creating these beautiful screen prints. So the quality is remarkable. Ron has been in the Columbus community, but hasn't necessarily as a collector been focused solely on Columbus artists. But he was asked, I believe, to be a juror for the Ohio Art League for one of their juried exhibitions and was really blown away by the quality of the work.
And he came through and he promised, he said the quality of the work was so strong, and he had been collecting work in New York and all over the world, and he promised on that night to incorporate Ohio artists into this project, and he was true to that.
I was just delighted that, you know, he's interested in my work and I would be part of this. And I think, you know, he's great for the Columbus art scene. And this is an unbelievable situation, this hotel.
And to be included in a project with a world-renowned collector is pretty amazing, and I know the other artists feel the same way.
There's an appetite for this, and there's an appetite for real art by real people, and not just, you know, white noise or something that you will see. And there are other art hotels around the country and of all budgets. This one is unique in every sense and represents our community as well. I work with a lot of contractors and construction. Pizzuti development companies are a number of construction people, and one of the head of construction asked me, do you think people will really care? And I said, absolutely. You know, it's just, it gives the space an energy, a feel. You don't have to be, you don't even have to notice or know who any of the artists are or care who any of the artists are, but when you walk in, there's an energy and a brightness, and there's a depth to the art that if you are interested, They're not easy pieces. They're difficult works. They're things that'll make you think and smile if you open yourself up to that.
That's our show. You can see all these artists represented in the Art 360 Degrees exhibit now on view at the Columbus Museum of Art. It's free to visit on Sundays. You can watch all of these stories and more at WOSU.org, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're closing today's show with the music of Fletch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on Broad and High.
It's time to decide.
Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com. And by the Ohio Arts Council, a state agency that funds and supports quality arts experiences.